Kia ora and welcome to Constellations and All That. I'm your host, Tracy Cartwright, and we will be chatting with facilitators and clients from around the globe, hearing about constellations from all perspectives and anything else that might want to pop into the field while we're sharing. I hope you enjoy this series as much as I have enjoyed creating it. So sit back and enjoy. Beautiful. Welcome, Maria. Hello.
Hello, New Zealand. Hello, Tracy.
And hopefully this is going out to the world. So not just New Zealand or Australia, but getting it out there. But the intention for this podcast is that we can help to increase the exposure of constellations in New Zealand. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And anything above that and beyond that is a bonus, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, well, let's see.
Now, forgive me because I get your last name wrong every time. I say Dolenc. That's not correct, is it?
Yeah. No, in my own language, Slovenian is Dolenc. Here in Australia, they call me because the last one is C-K, Dolenc. Maria Dolenc. But back in Slovenia, I'm Maria Dolenc.
And the way my brain works, it's something completely different. So
the third version.
Yes. And welcome, Maria.
Very glad to be here. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. So this is our first ever podcast. First ever podcast interview. And I said to you earlier when we were communicating about this, I said, I might throw you some questions. And then I didn't. And you reached out to me and said, have you got any questions? And I'm like, let's just wing it and see what happens. So here we are, right?
Yeah. I always liking saying, which is part of constellation, dancing into unknown instead of being prepared before. So I'm very open to whatever, will come out of this. So I'm originally Gestalt therapist, started Gestalt 30 years ago. And then I went to one Gestalt conference here in Sydney. And I was already family therapist. And I saw somebody saying they assigned family constellation. And I went, what's family constellation? I was just like, however, I always like to go into it, into something that I don't know yet. So I went, and was around 20 of us, and he chose a woman to do her constellation, and she chose me to represent her. And I went, well, I have no idea what to do or what. I never heard. They said, you don't need to know anything, just step in. And was like, okay. So maybe 10 minutes into it, I went, wait a minute, what's happening here? This is my family here unfolding. It was just like, wow, I was blown away. And on the end, I went to her and I said, look, I'm so sorry I felt that I stole constellation from you. And she looked at me, she said, Maria, not at all. Everything what you were saying and reporting was so accurate. And was like, wow. What was really, my mind was completely blown away. And I, at that moment, understood that we are touching a different level of intelligence, not only our intellect or what we think. And I went straight away to Germany. I start to look at that straight away to Germany to train, and every year, and anybody, any training, I would be there. I just love that. And so that's how I started Constellation. And as you know, now I'm doing a lot of training here in Sydney and all over. And I'm really glad that I do it because I love doing it, and also serving to people, knowing how powerful it is and how sometimes can really shift people in such a way that no any other therapy can. So that's in a nutshell.
Beautiful. I remember when I met you the first time, and I was in I was in training myself, and I came to your workshop in Devonport.
Uh-huh.
You'd come over and you looked at me, and because I'm quite tall and you're not as tall as me, you're a little bit shorter than me, right? Quite a
Yeah.
bit shorter than me.
Yeah.
And you just looked up at me and you said, "I like you." And I remember feeling seen and feeling like then I felt like I belonged in this field,
Uh-huh.
because I'd had a moment when I first met Constellations of this is what I'm meant to be doing. And then in the training, I found myself a little bit like floating, a little bit lost. And then it was like you came along and anchored me in it. So I'm always very grateful for that. That is a moment in time I will never forget. So thank you. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that was many years ago. And the connection is always there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And you've been involved in the Australasian intensive too, setting it
Yeah,
up at the beginning, weren't you?
yeah,
You're
yeah.
part of
Well,
that.
we were five of us, myself, Jonine, which she's still doing, that, and must be around 10, 12 years ago we start. And Chris Walsh and another two people, five of us, we started at that time. And that was also very challenging at times, because different personalities that we were was really good. However, really also very beneficial to be with people who were looking from a different angle. And I loved that. And then there was a time that I felt that I become just a bit too busy in Constellation and my own other work, just felt it in my body a bit. And I start to question myself if I need to let go of. And I remember I went to Vipassana 10-day silent retreat and sitting with it and really checking in. And I knew that I need to say no, not anymore, that I won't be any more part of the Constellation Intensive. And the reason was not about the work, but so many emails and so much other work that you have to have for preparation that I thought, that's it. It's not my main, way of working with. And I was so glad that I was able to say, I'm done in that area, and then just doing what life or what higher forces asking me to do. So yeah, that was quite important for me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. There's a lot that goes into organizing something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And some people are really good at that. With my own background and my own English, sometimes was struggle, and I knew that I need to say no. And that was very important, being true to
Yeah,
my own self. Yeah.
yeah. And I think probably the work probably helped you find your no, hey? Just
That's,
like it
yeah,
helps us find our yes to many things. It can also help us find our no
agree,
as well.
agree.
How has family constellations impacted your life?
Well, very much in a nutshell, if I want to say, I was just saying to somebody yesterday, we were talking about our parents and, ancestors and who is behind us, that if somebody, talk about my parents at that time, and what I was talking about them, how I was describing them, or now it's like they would think that I have two different families. At that time, I was still very much blaming them, judging them, and I become a bit, superior and better than. And then through constellation work, seeing about that, the child, in me, just adapted in order to survive, and then bowing to it and seeing what my parents went through. And, I was one of 8 children, the 7th child. And all of a sudden was like, wow, I start to really honor them and really glad where I come from now. But 30 years ago or 20 years, I would judge them a lot. So in a nutshell, that was huge one, and bowing and being grateful where I come from. Yes, that's
Mm,
in a
mm.
nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for me, it softened me in
Yeah.
my family system. I felt like I had to be harder and bigger. And
Yes.
I know I was the little one, I was the youngest.
Ah,
So, yeah, it's definitely allowed me to find compassion and yeah,
similar. Yeah.
empowering as well. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Softness. I think you're right. That kind of softness and humility, isn't it?
yeah.
Which is so much easier than in my own body. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, totally. Otherwise, we're rejecting ourselves, aren't we?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Hmm. Have you got any Have you got any favorite stories that you like to share about constellations? Like, is there a memory of a constellation that blew you away or something that you've
Ah,
experienced yourself that's really,
yeah. Well, the main one it is really, and I have two examples that comes to my mind now. The last one was only 3 weeks ago when I did workshop here in Narrabeen, where I am. There was 28 of us, and the woman that we went around to what they want to look at that, and one woman said, I want to look at that, my relationship with my brother. I haven't talked to him, I don't know, she said 5, 6 years, and she would like to look at that, what it is. And so anyway, after, or was lunch or a bit later, we went somewhere around and she said, I can't believe that. She said, my brother rang me when I'm here today. And it was just like, again, confirming how connected we are. If we're doing this work, our own work, the family members are part of it and they can feel it. So that was one which didn't surprise me, but I was really glad to hear that again. And the other one was very similar. Around 4 years ago, an Indian guy came, and he was also, he said, I haven't talked to my father. Father was in India and he was here for quite a few years, and I want to look at that and I want to connect with it. And later on again, I don't know, after afternoon tea, he came back and was the same. He said, you wouldn't believe it. When we were doing constellation, my father rang me and was
mm,
just like blown away. And I was just like, wow, reconfirming this important, incredible work to see how connected we are. And when we're doing our own work, it's not only for us, it's for the whole system. And
exactly.
especially if
Yeah,
we have children and yeah.
yeah. Because for those who are new to family constellations, there's that ripple effect, isn't there? That when
Yeah.
we do our own constellation, oh, I'm getting the chills because I know how this has rippled out in my life. That when I do a constellation, it ripples out to my siblings, it ripples back to my parents and beyond through the ancestors, but
Yeah.
also forward to my children. So they don't have to be present, they don't have to be part of the work that you do because it's
Yeah.
for yourself on a soul level. They feel it and they receive
Yeah.
shift
Yeah.
as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's quite beyond intellect trying to understand. It's a bigger field operating. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds you about the oneness, right? That we're all so interconnected.
Very much so. That
Yeah.
very much so. Yeah. Yeah.
Even with the creatures and and nature and I had a training group here on the weekend, so I'm training people in the constellation work, and my dog came in and was so much part of the work. Like she comes in and she come and sit next to someone, and we were standing up doing exercises, and then she walked directly through the field, which changed something, and then came back and stood in the exact same spot right beside that person. There was like 9 other people standing up in the room, but she came back to that person, and yeah, it's that interconnectedness of the things that we
Ah.
don't realize that are happening around us as well, I think.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I so relate. I have that experience few years ago with the dog. Somebody brought the dog, and the dog pick up wherever it needs to go. It was just like, wow, similar connection, and it's this mystery unfolding, isn't it? That's why I love this. this work and doing and facilitating or being part of it. It's, yeah, the mystery just unfolding. Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have you ever worked with whole family groups or just the individuals? This is just a random question that's popped into my head.
Yeah, I did only once that the whole around 4 or 5 people came. And not that I wouldn't want to do that. I would, if they want to come. Only once. And it was also, well, from what I know, I don't know what they took, home, but was also one person did constellation from the family system. So I just allow it, I think I would do a little bit interview and little bit asking question why everybody wants to come. Just for the reason, that they don't look for quick fixes up there, but more about awareness, what they need to look at that. And yeah, so not very often, but I do remember one. I don't know, that's for whatever reason, yeah. I do prefer, well, not long ago, somebody asked me if they come with the whole family, and we did little bit checking in. And then I said, well, I would prefer that you come on your own. And then later on, if you want another workshop somewhere, and if it still feel right, then you can ask for that. But sometimes it's just much, otherwise the energy gets everywhere. So it's much more grounded and bring it here and now to one person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it also comes down to that intention, isn't it? Of
that's
why.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And knowing that maybe 5 people in a family and everybody would have a different story, Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Who do you look up to in family constellations? Is there someone that you admire?
I really I'm still work quite a bit with Ulsama, Berta Ulsama, because he's very much also here and now, and not going too much into the stories. Sort of simplifying constellation, because sometimes we can, just go, oh, not constellation. I like Ulsama. Albert Marr was always probably the main one. And for many years, I don't think so he's working now at the moment anymore. One of the things that it's always stay with me, because he was saying, about constellation. This is our story that we have about our family or our parents, and this is our story. So we relate really to the story about them, not who they are or what was really happening. It was like, whoa, yes, we just have a story about our parents, and I relate that myself. So he said, drop the story and just see what else comes up. That was quite powerful. That was by Albert Marr. And the other one, when I work with couples, he would always say, marry yourself first before you marry the other. And I always knew that that's also true, and how important it is, not just to look for somebody else to take care of us. Marry yourself first.
Wow.
Yeah, so, yeah.
That's the thought, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
Makes you stop and think.
that's right. And who is yours?
Well, you're up there on my list, hun. I love your work. I love your cheekiness, your sense of humor, the little F-bombs you put out there, which help keep it real. And I really like Stefan Hausner.
Yeah,
I like
Stefan.
his work. He's very I think he works. I like the way he works in the energy of it. Yeah, there are so many.
Yeah, I also love, I haven't seen her for a long time, Francesca.
She was in my head as well. Yeah.
Yeah, especially about the constellation, nature constellation, that it's also so important that we bring that in. Yeah, yeah. Plus
Yeah,
others.
oh, so many others, hey.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was to put you up there of my favorites, you, Stefan and Francesca. So, wow, wouldn't that be a lineup? When if we can make that possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey.
Maybe I would also ask you, what's your main thing that touches you through constellation that really, this is quite different than any other.
It's the way it shifts things.
Yes, yes, yes.
It like no other,
Yeah,
nothing else that I've ever experienced.
yeah. I think exactly what you're saying. It's more, well, Hellinger talk about spirit mind and whatever we want to call it, the essence, the other, I call it invisible intelligence, is operating through us, not me, Maria, or my ego self. And that's the main one through constellation that I see. I need to let go of what I think and allowing just to come through me, through us. That's in a
Yeah,
nutshell.
absolutely. And because you feel it, right? You feel it in your cells in a way. I've come out of workshops and the intensives and stuff like that,
Yeah,
like a completely different person.
yeah.
As we do often when we go to, like weekend workshops or warangas and stuff like that, but in a way that I can feel my cells changing as I'm doing the work.
Mm.
I can feel because as a child I always had the ability to see spirit and feel spirit, to feel the energy field and what was going on, and that was really confusing. So this gives
Right.
me some understanding, even though in some kind of structure, even though it's a huge field and there isn't really a structure to it, but it gives me that flow in a
Yeah,
place, and that's probably the biggest.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Mm.
Yeah. At my age, like, I don't know, it's just giving me such a, not hope, I don't believe in hope, it's more here and now, but just support and such a connection with the bigger field, not just, me getting colder or we getting colder and life is finished. Yeah, through constellation, I think it's so much in that also. So I was going to next year maybe not doing any more training, because of the belief system. My ego self is saying, well, Maria, you're getting older, maybe blah, blah, blah. However, from a different perspective, essence or, essence self, it's like, I don't need to even make decision. I can only go if it feels right and just say, yep, I'm going to go. And then trusting the field will take
Mm.
me wherever. That was the biggest gift for me and still is through constellation. Really. And also doing really work. It's not only, spiritual awareness, but also being here and now and present and looking through it. So I feel very fortunate doing that, and very fortunate to knowing you and coming to New Zealand, and
What a
hopefully we'll be
gift.
there very
What a
soon
gift
too.
that was, eh?
So what
The,
was there on the background, Tracy? A
this
bag?
here,
Yeah,
the bag, this is from the intensive that we had here in April.
that was so good.
Turn it around.
Show us.
Can you read the words on the back?
Oh, can you read it, please?
You are who your ancestors sung about in their ceremonies. You are their sacred gift to the world.
Oh, wow. I didn't even probably read that one on the back. Thank you. I will go then later. Beautiful. Yeah.
I love that saying. I like to tune into my ancestors of the fire and
Yeah.
know that, they were singing for us in the future, and I can do that. I'm a grandmother so and I know you are. So that feeling of what I'm putting out there and knowing that it's going through my children and to
Yeah.
my grandchildren,
Yeah. Yeah.
and even if we haven't birthed children into this world, what we are creating, right? What we're putting out there, the things that we are birthing into this world, our thoughts, our gifts, our
Our
passion.
wisdom, passion. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have two sons, and both of them are quite few years, probably 8 years. So they both did already my training, which was really very precious to me, and very glad that
That's
they did.
amazing.
Yeah, both of did. They did. Not at the same year, but no, we did one workshop, we did one training, 3 days training that they were both together. And that was challenging for them, but also I was so grateful that they have enough courage to do that and to look at that. And for me, it's very important what we give forward, and then trusting that, go some goodness and some this kind of wisdom and sincerity and love goes
Yeah.
forward. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you find anything difficult or something that you think, I wonder?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, what's this going to, I just have to become an empty vessel and allow it to come through and see what it's there to show me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I sense some people, not very often, when they come to some workshop, it's like they're expecting, because they're hearing all about family constellation, they're expecting a quick fix. And I always said that in the constellation in workshop or whatever, there is no quick fixes. It's just to see a next whatever unfold for our journey
Hmm.
of freedom. Yeah.
Absolutely, because some people do have an amazing, like they'll have an amazing result, right? And then
Oh,
for others, it's a layer and a layer and a layer.
yeah.
And every time, and even with that amazing result, it's still going to be a layer. I have had sometimes people to come, have heard about the work, and then they want to come and fix everybody in their
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not digging with you. You've got no problem.
Yeah.
Because like, how's that affecting you? Like, how is it even your issue?
That's,
So
yeah. Yeah. And how
that's
not to, including myself, that we are human beings, that there will be struggling and suffering, and to stay with that ourselves and be present and be with that. It's like also very important. I know sometimes in the past that I would struggle, want to be a bit different instead of just allowing also the difficulty to be there and not quick fixes. For me, that one is also very important, to just be a human being. We all are human beings. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
some things are hard to look at and
Yeah.
but oh boy, are they powerful when we do, right?
Ah, ah, yes, yes.
Yeah. So if you were meeting someone who'd never heard about constellations, you could go to a friend's barbecue or something like that,
Yeah.
and they say, ask you what you do. How do you describe family
Yes.
constellation?
I usually said very few words. I would say, well, the best thing is for you to come and join us then, because otherwise it's intellectual saying little bit, it just doesn't touch us. So usually when people ask me that, I would go, I can't really explain. It's, if you're really interested, come to a workshop or you can watch YouTube or something. It's not possible intellectually to describe. For me, not. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I simply say it's working with intergenerational trauma.
Yeah.
We would use the term whakapapa healing here in New Zealand,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and it's a way of helping you see what is hidden
Mm.
behind an
Yeah.
issue
Yeah.
or something. That's and then I say, but really, you need to come to a workshop to understand it because it's one of those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I also like, Tracy, through the workshops, that you don't even need to do your own constellation. Well, that
Mm,
was true for me. So many people then they go, I can't believe that this person did constellation and was reflecting their own system and their own freedom. Then it's just like so many people benefit one person doing constellation. It's
yeah.
quite, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember that in my training, thinking driving down, I'd drive down to Auckland. It was a couple of hours, and I think, oh, I'm going to work on this time. I know what I'm going to work on, and the first person in the hot seat would do that same constellation, and I'd be like, ding, 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 all these light bulb moments for myself, or I was in the field representing and having
Yeah.
that shift as well. And then afterwards, I'm thinking, oh, well, what am I going to work on now?
Yeah.
I'll have a cup of tea and figure that one out. Something else will pop up. But
Yeah.
um,
Well, I used to, from beginning, before I would go and, do constellation, facilitate, I would go and read little bit of Hellinger books, okay? And then one day, quite few years ago, already was like, no, Maria, don't do that. And then I would sit here at home, 15 minutes, maybe 10, and just really stay present and sending love and goodness to everybody who will come there, so that I didn't have any expectation or how I should, but just be open to the field. And it's just amazing that to me, that's very important one. Yeah.
did you get to meet Bert Hellinger?
I did once
Yeah.
in, where was it? Well, in Germany. I don't know at the moment. And was around 800 people in that, was a conference. And that still stay with me. He was going to do one workshop straight away from beginning, just on the the stage. And then he came up and he said, well, I supposed to do, or, in the list is that I will do one workshop at the moment, but at the moment doesn't feel like that I want to do it. It just doesn't feel right. And I still remember feeling so disappointed, at the same time so grateful that he was able to say that and follow what felt right instead of what he should be doing. That always stay with me. Yes.
Because
Yes.
as a facilitator, that's one of the things we have to do, isn't it? We have to be really brave
Yes.
around that, because people can come with expectations, but it's like sometimes it's just not the right time.
That's exactly. Or there is few times that I would say, well, it just doesn't feel that we can do anything. Maybe just sit down and later on, if it's emerging something, we'll go and do it, or next time, because it's just, exactly what you're saying. It doesn't feel like from shoots, because the person may just need that enough just to see what it is or what's not there, instead of just pleasing or something like that. It take courage. Often. Yeah.
And you do a bit of work with through Byron Katie's work as well, don't you?
Yes, I bring up that to every workshop or my training, just for an hour. And for me, it's very important how much we, in our daily life, judging or projecting our own stuff on others. For me, that was a huge shift, also around 20 years ago, where I was really being very judgmental about another woman. And it was just like, wow, it's not about her, because you have to turn around. And the freedom and the relationship with me and her really shifted a lot, because
I
the
remember
judgment
the first time you did it with me, and
was,
the first time you did it with me, we were doing something. We did something online, and we were doing it, and wrote all these things down. I vented how I was feeling, and then you said, "Now turn it around," and I was like, "Ah."
I know. Amazing
And it
freedom
made
also.
sense. Absolutely made sense. It was really uncomfortable, and I just wanted to turn the computer off right there and then. But it made sense, and it helped things to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that reflection, right?
Yeah.
Looking at yourself and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's really in my thinking how I want them to be different,
Mm,
And the same as Albert Marr said, we have our story about our parents, or, anybody here. It's my story about them, not who they are.
yeah.
Yeah. That's the freedom then. Yeah.
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 So if someone wants to get hold of you, Maria, how would they find you? Do you have a
Oh,
website?
yeah, I do have a website, Maria Dolenc. And when I did that website also, I was never doing website in order to get business or blah, blah, blah. I just don't have that in me that I need to do that. I was doing probably 20 years ago, my website, almost like giving birth to myself. That was my intention. So yeah, the website is Maria Dolenc. That's it, or my email. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll get those details off you and pop them into the information that comes with this podcast. Is there anything that you'd like to impart before we sign off today?
And not just personally, that I'm so glad that I know you, that we are, it's almost like in some lifetime sisters or something very close. I just love you and I'm glad that we friends or whatever we want. So I really appreciate and appreciate that you doing this here with me and just few things that you said. So thank you
Oh, thank you.
very
Thank you.
much.
You
Appreciating.
touched my life in so many ways. I'm so grateful. And the gift that you give to us all with the wisdom and the humor and
Yeah.
your spunky personality that you bring to the field. I absolutely love it. So thank you. And please continue doing what you're doing. You're shifting the world. You're creating new pathways. So thank you, thank you.
And you know, the other thing is, I always said, we are all students and teachers to each other. I love that, so that I don't feel big or, of course, I have a lot of experience, but still, I'm learning a lot from the people, clients, yourself, all other people. Very much so. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening. Head over to Instagram and tell me what's resonated for you with this episode. You'll find me at tracy.cartwright. That's Tracy with no E. .cartwright. Or head over to my website, tracycartwright.co.nz, and receive a free audio with the gift from your ancestors. So until next time, be kind to yourself and have fun doing it.